Maintaining the track of Britain's waterways has been a continuous job since the first days of the canals. These are just a few views of what maintenance looked like back in the 1930s. Steam was king, and manual labour and dark, sometimes not pleasant working conditions were the order of the day. Today, the operations are much more mechanised and working conditions are somewhat better. You no longer have to sweep tunnels with a manual operated broom. But let's hope that the future of British waterways is maintained well by the staff that operate its fleet of boats and its repair yards. Let us now join one member of staff, the late John Jinks, on his boat Hercules as he attempts to load 23 tons of limestone out on the Trent and Mersey Canal at Anderton near Northwich. I well remember the summer's evening when the phone rang and it was John. Saying quite a considerable amount of limestone to the lime salt works in Northwich. And of course it's being moved by boat. And he suggested that I should join them for at least one of the runs. And on this lovely summer's morning I joined John aboard Hercules as we headed off from Marton to Anderton. And we were towing the ex-Fellows Morton and Clayton boat Malvern, which had been employed carrying the limestone in the previous 2 weeks. Only one load left to take. The Malvern was not required, and so, dutifully, with the ever powerful engine of Hercules, she was towed back to Anderton.
John was born on the canal at Albury and originally worked for the firm of Thomas Clayton, the oil carrying specialists based in Albury in the West Midlands. He spent many years aboard Clayton boats before joining the British Waterways Board, and eventually, after spending quite a bit of time with British Waterways, he ended up still carrying but on the maintenance fleet. We join him now as we approach Anderton, and let us enjoy the skills of the professional boatman as the Malvern is got into position to be moored up and both boats are winded simultaneously.
The wharf here at Anderton sees as it is a popular place for stopping overnight before going down the Anderton lift. The loading of Hercules this morning is a fairly simple affair. British Waterways are using a trusty JCB to drop the limestone into the hold. John periodically trims the boat to make sure that the loading is correct. And in these shots it's quite easy to appreciate how much can be carried in a narrowboat.
And you can distinctly see the difference between
Hercules and the Joshua boat next to it, the Malvern. Hercules, the Grand Union boat, the Malvern, one of the Joshua's fellow Claytons.
Hercules, John found a writ that was leaking,
and a quick repair had to be made.
Load is almost complete now, and Malvern is taken away
To be moored up permanently.
doesn't consider that the loading has completely been finished.
And although Hercules looks well down, there's still room for a little more.
And isn't that a well-laden motorboat?
I managed to persuade John that it would be rather nice if the boat could be seen coming out of the Anderton lift. Of course, the Anderton lift's been out of use for many years.
were allowed to fill Hercules, starting her journey, as many boats have done in the past, coming out of the Anderton lift.
Indeed, it is not too difficult to think back to the days of when the Anderton boats were operating, carrying felspar down to the potteries in Stoke-on-Trent. But I doubt that too many of their boats were ever quite as laden as Hercules on this particular summer's day. Hercules was built by Harland and Wolff for the Grand Union Canal Carrying Company in the 1930s. And although she has been somewhat converted to maintenance use, indeed the cabin has been extended forward of the engine room, I think she's probably carrying the maximum tonnage that the boats could ever carry. John reckoned that there was 23.5 tons thereabouts on this boat.
One thing that this journey proved, beyond any doubt,
That it was still possible to load
a narrowboat to the full extent and navigate the Trent and Mersey Canal.
this
23.5 tons of limestone makes some of the token loads that canal enthusiasts carry look rather pitiful.
This journey, however, wasn't a one-off. It's one of many that people who work for British Waterways undertake as just a natural part of their job. It's still possible now and again to see a loaded boat
Transporting materials to a site up and down many of our canals. But it must be remembered when you're navigating your boat that these boats are drawing about
3 foot or even more in the water, so please do give them room.
It's only a short journey from Anderton to Marton, the line salt works.
On this beautiful summer's day in 1994, it's a journey that I think I will always remember.
There's certainly something different about standing in the hold of a loaded boat, and the view from inside the hold is quite different to normal boating, and I hope you've enjoyed some of the unusual shots that we took on this particular journey. John's life was totally involved with boating. Apart from his great love of motorbikes that he had in his garage at home, his other great love, I think, was to get behind the tiller of a boat as many times as possible. And I doubt he'd have stayed with British Waterways for the time that he did
Had he not been able to do this. And he was certainly, right up to this journey, able to prove that you can navigate a properly loaded boat on a canal without Inside Hercules' cabin, gone are the adornments of a traditional narrowboat living cabin, but there's still a few things that you could recognise as being from the days of gone by. And of course, there's always a good cup of tea.
Very sadly, in November 1996, we lost John. A great character, and certainly one of the most nicest gentlemen that I've ever met on our canals.